Hello and welcome to Krista's So Crafty. My name is Krista and I really appreciate you being here. This is what we're going to make today. This is a drawstring bag. Very simple to make, but oh so useful. So many things you can use these for. The nice part about these bags is you can use whatever material you want, any size you want. What I'm giving you is the procedure on how to make these. You can go ahead and make these any size you want. And I'll tell you exactly how to do that in this video. You know, sometimes you go and you buy that perfect gift for someone and you get home and you don't have your wrapping paper or you don't have a gift bag because you forgot to buy one. You can make one. The measurements for this one are 10 inches by 12 inches. You can make this any size you want. If your present is, you know, this big, then cut it this big. We are going to do this bag here, which is again 10 inches by 12 inches. I have 2 pieces of fabric cut. And if you have directional fabric, make sure that your fabric is facing up because this will be the top of my drawstring bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this over to the ironing board and I'm going to iron down top edge here to make our casing for our drawstrings. Speaking of the drawstrings themselves, I am using this, it's just like a cord. I got it, I have no idea, it's been in my craft room. So I cut these at 2 of them at 26 inches for this bag because I want them to go either way. So I'm going to have one go that way and I'm going to have one go this way so I can draw them together and it'll make it nice and tight. To get my measurement that I wanted for the drawstring, I need 2 times 10 because there's 2 sides of the rope, right? So that's 20 inches. Plus I wanted 3 inches on either side. So together that's 20 plus 3 plus 3, that's 26 inches. I hope that makes sense. So whatever the width of your bag is, take that and add on 3 inches on each side. And that should give you enough that you can make your drawstring work for the bag size of bag that you're making. If your bag is 30 inches wide, you're going to go 30 times 2, so that'd be 60 inches plus 3 plus 3, so 66 inches. I hope this makes sense. All right, so let's go over to the ironing board and get this ironed down. What I'm going to do is I have this ruler and it's a sewing gauge and it has a little marker on it. So I put that marker on the 1/4 inch spot and I'm going to fold this down. Now you want the right sides down. You're going to iron this towards the back side of the material. So I'm going to measure that and then I'm going to press that down into place. I'm going to use this to make sure that I have a 1/4 inch all the way down. Okay, and should be like that. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give that a good press. And then I want to take this, I'm going to change my gauge now. I'm going to move it over to the 1 inch mark. Okay, can you see that? And I'm going to measure this at 1 inch and I'm going to iron that. And this is what's going to make our casing for our strings to pull through. Okay, so I'm going to press that like so, make sure it's good and pressed. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on this one. Again, right side's facing down. Move this to a 1/4 inch. And I just line it up against the edge of the material and I kind of push and it moves the material and so I can get it lined up at that 1/4 inch. Right, like that. Hold it with my finger until I can get the iron there. And then I'm just going to move this along this whole end. Nice thing about this project, again, is you can do it scrappy. You can just use scrap material. I'm all about using these little scraps. So this material here, I had made my husband a shirt and there was a little bit left. Well, you know, we can't ever throw this stuff out. So I'm just changing this over to the 1 inch mark now. We can never throw this stuff out, right? I mean, because we might need it or could use it for something. So I am using it to making a drawstring bag out of it, because we can all use extra bags around the house, right? Like so. Perfect. Now that this is all done, we're going to go back to the sewing table and we're going to put these together, right sides together. Now that we have those ironed, what we need to do is take our material and put them right sides together. And we're going to open up these seams and we're going to line everything up nice. And we're going to actually use some pins just to make sure everything is in the right spot and stays where it should be. Now you want to make sure that these crease marks line up so that when we go to do our next step, everything is good. Okay, so lay this all out. I'm going to put a couple pins over here as well. Open these up. Like that. And put a pin in there. And make sure that you have your material going the right way if you have directional material, okay? You don't want to have your birds, let's say, flying upside down. So I'm just going to pop a couple pins down here. And I see I'm a little bit wonky there. So let's straighten that out. There we go. So now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew all the way around, all the way. We will get to this in a minute, so just trust the process, okay? All right, so let's move our material in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the width of my presser foot. So I'm going to run the edge of the material against the edge of the presser foot and leave my needle in the center. So I'm going to move that down. Let's move you in just a little bit more. And I'm just going to sew all the way around. And of course, I'm going to remove my pins. And I will do a little back stitch at the front, move my pin, and let's just go all the way around. When you get to the corner, just stop approximately where you think you need to be, turn, and then continue on. Remember to have your needle down when you're doing that. And pivot and go. And I'm going to do a back stitch here. All right, so our next step is we need to go and measure down 2.5 inches from the top. So I'm going to take my measuring tape. And I'm just going to use a pen because this will be on the inside. And I'm going to go from the top edge, and I'm going to measure down 2.5 inches, and I'm going to put a mark, right, like that. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. So line it up at the top, and then measure down 2.5 inches. What that is for is because I want to go around and I'm going to zigzag the edges because as you can see, they're fraying a lot. And that's just going to get messier as you use the bag and stuff. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to zigzag around to make sure that, you know, it stays nice and neat. On my sewing machine, I'm going to change this to a zigzag. I'm going to put my stitch width at 4.5 and my length at 2.5. I want a nice big zigzag, so it will try to encompass this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right where we made that mark, that the 2.5 inches down. So it's right there. Put my presser foot down, and I'm just going to zigzag all the way around. I have zigzagged all the way around. And so now what we need to do is we need to make a mark on the outside of the bag 2.5 inches down from the top edge. Okay, so let me bring you in a bit more. What we're going to do, we're going to measure down from the top edge of this material down 2.5 inches. We're going to put just a little dot. Okay, we're going to flip this over and we're going to do the same thing on this side. You want to be able to see that mark. So I have dark material, but I will make it work so I can see it. And make sure that your fabric isn't folded over or anything. So I'm going to measure down 2.5 inches and I'm going to make a mark. I'm trying to make it so I can see it. There we go. All right. We're going to go back to this side, and remember we didn't zigzag all the way to the top. Okay. We are going to take and we're going to finger press this open. Just like this. Finger press that open on both sides. Like so. All these strings. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go and sew. Let's hold this so you can see it. We're going to sew starting here. We're going to go sew down and across and then back up. We're going to do that on both sides. So again, I'm going to sew probably like that close. Here, it's quite close. Okay, and do a rectangle and sew back up. All right, so remember a little while ago we did all that pre-pressing. This is where it's going to come in handy. I'm going to fold this down. Going to give it just a finger press because this kind of got opened up a little bit. And do the same thing on this side. Press this down and then we'll fold it down that inch. Okay, so we'll bring this down that inch. And we're going to go around and we're going to pin this in place. Let me get my pins. Okay, so let's just bring in these pins. Now you want to make sure that your seams are lined up. So that's where I like to start. I'll do that on both sides. And then just pin this around, keeping everything nice and neat. You want to make sure that that little 1/4 inch piece is tucked under, because we are going to stitch this down. Okay, so I'll put 2 pins on both sides just to ensure that it's going to be held in place like so. And I'll change this because I only did one. These are such fun little bags to make. You know, whatever material you have, you can use, and you can make them any size. So our next step is we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch as close to this edge as possible all the way around. Now, you probably have noticed with my sewing machine that it is inset into my table. For me to do this next step the way I'm going to tell you to do it would be a pain in the butt. I would have to remove all this and pull it out and set it up on the tabletop. But what I'm going to suggest to you is if you have that little piece here or a piece that goes around, you remove that, and then you can just take this and bring it underneath, and then you can go like this and it'll just go around like this. I don't have that capability because of how my sewing machine is in my table. So what I do is I just pull this stuff back and find a spot, and I'm going to put my needle in right where I want it. And we're just going to stitch all the way around. Now I'm keeping my finger right here so I can feel if that material underneath sneaks into the area where I'm trying to sew. Okay, we're almost there. Keep going. And we're coming up to where we started. And then we want to go over those stitches and then back stitch. I'm going to go ahead and trim my threads here. And these ones on the outside. And so now we have this beautiful edge to the top of our bag, which is perfect, except now we need to get our drawstrings in there. All right, so now we're going to take our bag, we're going to turn it so that the right side is out. We're going to poke out our corners like so. I'm going to try my pen. You want those corners nice and neat, poked out. All right, so now, do you remember when we sewed around the seam here? Well, now we're just going to take our seam ripper and we're going to open up that seam, just like so. And so then that will allow us to run our cords through there. Here I have a safety pin I'm going to use, and I'm going to do one side of the rope at a time. So I'm just going to poke that through, and oh my goodness, I couldn't have found a dollar pin, but it's working. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to find that opening. We're going to go through here, and we're going to start feeding that rope along this channel. Okay, so I need to pull that in. Now just make sure that the other end doesn't go all the way through too, right? So when we get to this edge here, we're going to keep going. So you're going to go past that seam like so, all the way around to where we started putting that little cord in. Okay, and you're going to bring this out. You're going to take off your safety pin, and you're going to pull this through. And we're going to line up these edges, and what I like to do is put a knot in them. Okay, so as long as they're lined up, just take and make a big knot like so, and then tie it. I try to keep it as close to the end here as possible. So pull that real tight. So there is one of our ropes. And now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go the other way. So again, put your pin, your sharp pin, oh my goodness, through your rope, your cord, whatever it is you're using. Now this time, we don't want to go through here, we want to go through this side. So I'm going to go in through here, like so, and I'm going to get this going. There we go. And again, we're going to come to this opening here, but we want to go right by it. And all the way around back to where we started. Like this. And open this up. Bring out my safety pin and undo this. We're going to line up the ends and put that big knot in here again, or a big knot on this side, I should say. Now, if you wanted, you could cut off these ends, but I'm not going to. I think it kind of adds to the charm of it with it, you know, being kind of frayed like this, right? And there we have our little bag. So let me zoom out. All right, so we'll get all of our stuff out of the way and our little strings. And there is our little drawstring bag ready to go. Perfect. So then when you want to use it, you pull it tight and it seals it up nice. So things are not going to fall out. If you wanted, you could, you know, put a little tie in it, put a little bow, whatever. But you really don't need to, because once you cinch that together, it really does stay. To open it, just pull on the bag and there you go. That is such a fun little project that you can use so many different materials for. You can make them any size, any color. It's a reusable bag, which is good for the environment. I really hope you enjoyed as I made this drawstring bag today. I have a few threads I need to trim up here, but such a great little project. I hope you give it a try. Use it for your next birthday present, Christmas present. Just think of all the Christmas material that's out there. Wow, eh? If you enjoyed this video, please give my video a thumbs up. It helps my channel out. Consider subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. I will put some videos here for you to watch while you wait for my next video to come out. Thank you again, and happy crafting.